You're getting pretty sick of politicians. Now you see, they'll sell their soul to get elected. They'll back Israel. They'll close their eyes. They'll get people mad at us for doing things that we in America, in our Bill of Rights, wouldn't even think of doing. Do you see that White House? Eisenhower, when he came back after the Second World War, he set things right. When Ariel Sharon went into the Sinai, he said, stop in 2 days. And there was not a war in the Middle East. When 8 little black children wanted to go to a school in Alabama, and the policemen took off their badges, the National Guard went in there, and God damn it, those children went to school. Until this day, black children are going to schools in every southern state. It's not even thought of anymore. But we needed an outsider like Eisenhower to do it. These politicians, everybody in Congress, everybody running for president, I don't care if they're Republican, I don't care if they're Democrat, I don't care if they're independent, they all have sold their soul to the devil. In this case, the devil is AIPAC. They made an example of a black, wonderful, beautiful person, Earl Hilliard. He was trying to work with Libya. We were negotiating with Libya. He even went to Libya. And AIPAC kept putting this legislation in, and he vetoed it because we were working with Libya. Look what Libya gave us for nuclear weapons. Without Libya, right now the terrorists could have that nuclear weapon. But poor Earl Hilliard, he lost his job. And I'm going to show you a video, him in his own words, where the AIPAC showed a picture on CNN with him, with Saddam, with bin Laden.
Israel lives! Israel lives! I think that our objective is to always let our elected officials know that A, we do support Israel, and that if anyone comes against Israel in a malicious way, we would do everything in our power to see that that was their last term in office.
Guys that were on the campaign working with them in 2002 election. Now I want to get a copy of that tape of those commercials that we did. Give me a call. I'm in office 326-8844. Thank you. What AIPAC did, some members of the United States Congress, they put in resolutions condemning Libya. And they just kept them in the resolutions with Syria and with Iran and with Iraq. They kept putting them in that in resolution and kept pushing for all kinds of sanctions, all kinds of action against them. And of course, I voted against the resolution, and others started voting against it. And I think what later I found out what really made them angry. Other members of Congress came to me and wanted to know what was happening, and I was telling them we're trying to negotiate. So what happened? I was looking at CNN. Several people had called me and told me what they had seen and heard, and they told me look at CNN. And they flooded the radio and TV with commercials. Those commercials, and you have to understand the mode that the country was in. We had just gone through 9/11, and most Americans didn't know Hussein from Gaddafi or Gaddafi from bin Laden. They didn't know the difference. They all saw them as the same. And the commercial, or many commercials, put me whooped in, saying I support.
See what AIPAC did? They made an example of Earl Hilliard. They put him with Saddam. They put him with bin Laden. They made him look like he is a terrorist. They made an example so no one else would go against AIPAC with their money, with their donations. They flooded the news. And this man, this beautiful black man, this wonderful congressman, he lost the election because AIPAC
support and finance international terror network.
And had image of the airplanes flying into the World Trade Center.
Controversial is it?
I tell you, I was dropping rapidly in the polls. We had continued polling. I was dropping rapidly in the polling. I tell you, you have to admit it was well planned and they executed it. The afterthought is that, my goodness, they had it together. I lost the election.
There is an enormous, very, very powerful machine out there that notes immediately when someone takes anti-Israel positions and moves out on the attack. I'll give you a very concrete example. I had mentioned the Mearsheimer-Walt study once in a seminar at one of the universities where I teach, and within 48 hours I had an email from Alan Dershowitz.
Who is he?
Alan Dershowitz is a Harvard professor who protects the Jewish lobby in America like an attack dog. I had an email from him, and the email essentially said he didn't think I was doing justice to the American-Israeli relationship, to Israel's existence in the world, etc., by citing the Walt Mearsheimer report because it was so heavily flawed, mistaken, and so forth. And he even attached his own attack on the Walt Mearsheimer report and advised me to use it as counterbalance in my seminar. Well, I wasn't even using the report in my seminar. I simply had mentioned it as evidence of some people's ire, if you will, with the lack of discussion, the lack of debate on these issues in America. And within 48 hours, I had one of the attack dogs for the Jewish lobby coming after me.
But how could he know this?
There are people all over America, on campuses all across America, who are set up to do just what he did, to protect the interest of Jewish Americans, and particularly the interest of Israel in America. In that sense, the Jewish lobby is probably more organized and more able to move swiftly against any potential threat than any other lobby.
Me mad is that Israel will go to no lengths to get whatever they think their military agenda is. Rachel Corrie got crushed to death by a cat bulldozer when she was trying to protect a Palestinian home. Ian Hook got shot after 2.5 hours in a United Nations camp by a sniper with a telescopic lens at 20 meters. You understand that? And 40 years ago, 34 American sailors got burnt to death with napalm, got torpedoed, got shot, and God willing, they lived. Because if they would have stunk, there would have been no witnesses. But luckily, the radio man, a wonderful hero, put some wires together and got a message to a U.S. carrier, and the Israelis heard that American planes were coming to save the USS Liberty.